welcome back to the 10 Count. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Doug Fischer of RingTV.com and Michael Montero. September 16th, they're calling it Supremacy from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas for all the middleweight marbles. Sorry, BJ Saunders, but Gennady Golovkin takes on Saul Alvarez. Doug, I got to go to you first because you had to fend off the heathens, the savages, the barbarians were at the gate. Yes,
the haters.
They absolutely insisted that Golden Boy and Canelo were not only going to not fight Golovkin in 2016 or 17, but maybe forever.
Right.
How much pressure do you think there was on Golden Boy themselves when they said last year, we're going to make the fight in 2017 by the Mexican Independence Day weekend?
There was a lot of pressure. All of the media, at least in the United States, but also in Mexico, from that point on, asked Eric Gomez, the president of Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya, the CEO and founder, and everybody with Team Canelo, when's this fight going to happen? Even though they said it's going to be next September, every time Canelo fought from that point, so going into the Liam Smith fight and after the Liam Smith fight, going into the Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight, this is what everybody was talking about. And every move he made from that point, from dropping the WBC title, that created an outpour. Dropping down from, or actually just 1 pound really, but you know, technically speaking, going from middleweight to junior middleweight to fight for Liam Smith's WBO junior middleweight title, that created all kinds of speculation. Don't forget there was a speculation that there was going to be a catch weight for this fight, that Canelo, who had never fought over 155 pounds, was going to try to get Golovkin to come down into a catch weight like 156 or 157. So there was a tremendous amount of angst among hardcore fans, and there was a tremendous amount of pressure from the Mexican sports media and the U.S. boxing media at every turn. And it wasn't just before and after a Canelo event. It was at every Golden Boy event. Every chance that boxing writers were around, the Golden Boy Promotions executives, Golovkin, Triple G, it's all they talked about. So there was a lot of pressure to get this done, and I think the great thing about the Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight was, A, it was a huge event and a huge platform for Golden Boy Promotions to announce this partnership with K2 Promotions and announce this huge fight. But it was also a reason for Canelo Alvarez to get out of that 155-pound comfort zone and come up and wait and realize, hey, I am a middleweight.
Yeah, well, Mike, I remember being in the arena at the T-Mobile. Now, I was tipped off earlier in the week that this thing might be signed, sealed, and delivered. Golovkin takes a late flight in Saturday, gets there ringside. But as he's making that WWE-style entrance to announce the fight, I have to admit, it was surreal to watch that.
We've been waiting for it for 2 years. You know, Doug, you talk about all of Canelo's fights where he was being pressured. I remember being at the Amir Khan press conference afterwards.
Right.
And the media was hounding him then.
Yeah.
When he had just fought Amir Khan. So this
now
goes back.
That was last May. It feels like it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
It really hasn't been 2 years. Even Tom Loeffler will admit Canelo Alvarez wasn't on Triple G's menu until he beat Miguel Cotto in November of 2015 when he got the WBC title, but also linear and Ring Magazine recognition as the middleweight champ.
Right, and I think from that point on, the fans were so upset. You talk about Cotto Canelo, that was 2015. That was 6 months or so after the Monday Grab of the Century. And fans were so fed up with having to wait so long for the matches they want that there was immediate pressure to not screw this one up. And I think Canelo was aggravated. Even at the red carpet event they did in Hollywood a couple weeks back, I got one question in with Canelo because he was being brushed aside. And I asked him, you know, are you finally happy this thing's happening? And he just kind of looked at me and said, I'm obsessed with winning this fight, and kind of walked away. He's annoyed.
Yeah.
The criticism got to him.
It did eventually get to him. Absolutely right. And he still has a grudge, at least I believe, with the WBC. Feels like he was unduly pressured. You know? I'm just kind of like, you fought for the belt. You knew Golovkin was the mandatory.
They mishandled that situation.
Yeah,
they agreed to the step-asides. They agreed to the extensions. Listen, you can say a lot of things about the sanctioning bodies, but Jose Suleiman said we have a system of rules, and this is where the sanctioning bodies damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't enforce the rules, they're lawless rogues. If they do enforce the rules, then the fighters get upset.
Yeah, the superstars get pissed off.
Regardless of all of that, the fight, in my opinion, is being made at the right time. Now, you can argue, is Gennady at his absolute physical apex at age 35, which he turned on April 8th? I don't know, but I know one thing, Doug. I think too much is being made a little bit of the Jacobs fight, a fight that most people think that he boxed his way through. He's 35, but I don't get the sense it's an old 35.
Listen, he's not going to get any better than he is now. He hit his peak. I'm going to say he probably hit his athletic/physical peak, technical peak in 2014, okay? But it hasn't really been diminishing returns since that year. He's not getting any better. He's not going to get any stronger at this age. He's not going to get any faster. His reflexes aren't going to improve with age, but he's still Gennady Golovkin. He's still, hands down, the best middleweight in the game, and he hasn't fallen from that peak. He may not be at his peak, but he hasn't fallen from the peak. He's still recognized as the #1 middleweight in the world and one of the top 3 or 4 pound-for-pound players in the game.
Yeah, you know, most odds makers, let's say 18 months ago, they would have made Golovkin about 3.5 to 4 favorite. Now it's under 2 to 1.
Yeah, you know, going back to that Daniel Jacobs fight, I kept telling anyone who would listen, Daniel Jacobs is a very, very good fighter. Taller than Gennady, longer, stronger, faster, hungry. Coming in there, fought the fight of his life, and Golovkin still won 7 or 8 rounds, clearly on my card. Now, the night of the fight, maybe you felt that Jacobs was doing better than you expected, and that's why people maybe curved the grading scale there. But all things considered, we haven't even talked about the actual matchup yet. When you talk about who's fought the better middleweights, well,
it's Golovkin.
Yeah, of course. Because Canelo hasn't fought any. So, all things considered, though, you know, you look at the actual matchup here, I think their styles match well. Canelo's a counterpuncher. He only throws about 40 or so punches around. He's well below the middleweight average. Golovkin's busier, but he gets hit more. So it's going to be interesting to see how these styles match up. I think it's going to be a fascinating fight.
It's an inside fight.
Yeah.
And 2 guys with excellent jabs, guys who like to go to the body, good combination punchers, and Canelo likes it when guys bring the fight to him. That's what Golovkin does.
And he has
boxes
underrated
opponent down.
defense.
Yeah.
He's very, I mean, by now you would think he would get credit for it, but I'm going to make a prediction. After 12 rounds with Daniel Jacobs, there wasn't a mark on Gennady Golovkin's face. I don't know if this fight goes the distance. My hunch is that it does go the distance, and in which case Golovkin's probably going to be sweating bullets. But I think there's going to be marks on Golovkin's face going rounds with Canelo Alvarez, and vice versa.
Yeah, we're going to see one thing. Does Golovkin hit Canelo with the jab consistently? Because as you said, we've all said it, his upper body movement is very, very overlooked. That started with the Austin Trout fight. And number 2, if that jab lands consistently, how does Canelo react and who takes the first step backward? But we have plenty of time to preview that matchup September 16th from the T-Mobile Arena. They're calling it Supremacy, Golovkin, Alvarez. On behalf of Doug Fischer and Michael Montero, this is Steve Kim saying till the next round, goodbye everybody.